Walking these streets, shadows fall, lost in a world, echoes call, searching for light, voices true, St. James Church in the heart of the blue.
All right. Well, welcome to our conversations on the 75th anniversary of St. James, and we're here with Kevin and Teresa Biddle to share their experiences of being members here. So what brought you to St. James?
Well, when I was in college, I was looking for a church that was a Bible-based church and wasn't kind of a liberal, Bible not being too important to him, kind of a worship service. And one of my professors, Dr. Steve Sampson, recommended St. James Lutheran Church. And I remember thinking, well, Lutherans, I'm not so sure. I heard it. And he said, no. He said, Missouri Synod Lutheran, totally different.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
So that was, I think, 1987. And been attending here ever since. And when Teresa and I, we got married here. And yeah.
And what year did you get married?
1988.
88.
Okay. And what was your background?
Hardcore Wesleyan.
Okay.
Yeah, all my life Wesleyan. Went to a Wesleyan college. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you kind of joined the church together, or?
We did.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, sometimes I say I kind of did it a little differently. I wasn't raised in a church, and that's how I ended up kind of believing a certain theology or doctrine. It was kind of the other way around. When I was in college, the classes that I had, I studied, and I kind of developed my theology, and then went to look for a denomination that matched.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what roles have you guys played here? What are some things you've done in the church?
Let's see. I helped with Bible school, and the Nativity Walk. I did that.
Oh, okay.
I used to bake for that cookie walk that we had. That
Oh,
was
yeah, I
kinda,
heard.
that was a long time ago. I used to bake a lot for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids acolyted, all
That's
three
right.
of my boys. So we for a lot of years, the kids did that, and I was the director of Board of Christian Education for at least a decade, maybe 12 years, something like that, and was on Parish Planning Council all during that time. And let's see, then taught Sunday school on and off for many years, adult and kids. And like she said, VBS, we were involved in VBS several years, and the Nativity Walk. And of course, I've been an elder for the past, I don't know what year that was, 5 or 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been an elder.
And do you teach our Wednesday night class, one of our Wednesday night
Oh, yeah,
classes?
yeah, of course. So doing the Chosen series, and I've really enjoyed doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as when I was on the board of Christian Education, we developed the whole daycare to go along with our preschool.
Oh, okay.
And that's when we built the new building, and we immediately kind of put in the daycare there. And there for a while, I believe we were the biggest daycare in Marion.
Oh, wow.
And it went real well for quite a few years. We built the playground. I'd have to mention.
Yeah, tell that story.
I'd have to mention Jim McClure and Dwayne McClure and I did the bulk of the work out there. That was just an empty field, and Jim designed the shelter house out there.
Oh, okay.
He did it all on graph paper, designed it, and then we purchased the materials, and we had some other help, people on and off volunteering, but we built that, even poured all the concrete. Now, we had several people came out and helped us when we poured the concrete, but we did that all ourselves. The sidewalk that goes out there, and the asphalt path that goes around, we hired that done, of course. And we planted Planted lots of trees out there, but unfortunately they were ash trees, and they all
Oh.
they all died.
Yeah, ash beetle was
Yeah.
that? Yeah. That's funny. So, what are some interesting stories or things that have happened since you've been here?
You think of, well, we just met so many, so many neat people, and there's so many people that took on roles that I think made it easy for church leadership.
Right.
I mean, like Vacation Bible School, you got people like Lori Babb that just take off with that, and the Nativity Walk,
Right.
things like that. I've just been so impressed with people, the Altar Guild, and just all the different people that volunteer to do so much.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been involved in a church where the lay people did so much and were so productive.
Yeah, I think that's true. Same thing with me. I've never been in a church that the lay people have been so involved in stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I like to think I think it was my idea years ago to go to 2 services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I brought that up in Parish Planning Council, and we pondered that idea for a while, and eventually we did. And I always felt like that was a really good move to have 2
Yeah.
Sunday services. Yeah, and I remember being part of the discussions to form the elders. We used to call them the Board of Lay Ministers.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a little strange, and I just remember bringing that up, saying, "What is lay ministers? I don't even." And I said, "Don't most churches call them elders?" And
Right.
and then we ended up switching the name to elders.
Well, that answers that question because Joe brought that up yesterday, but he couldn't remember how it happened and when. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, that was in Parish Planning Council. I remember just kind of asking the question, and I think it just kind of sparked a discussion, and then not one long after that, we changed it to elders.
yeah, that is interesting. It's now the 2 services, was that 2 different services or
No, for a lot of years when Pastor Carlson was here, they were just identical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just that we were getting a lot of people in the one
Oh.
service, kind of crowded, and then we brought up the idea of maybe we should do 2 services, and that I think that was more for just because of the crowd than anything
Oh,
else.
okay.
And then it was, I think maybe it was Pastor Larman when we started doing a contemporary and a liturgical
okay.
service.
So a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the 2 services, you kind of had the choice. But I remember back when we did that for a lot of years, you would get the same service. So
okay.
you could kind of choose. You slept in a little bit. You weren't going to miss anything. It was going to be the same
okay.
service. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because our services are a little bit different now, but just looking at the people that most people switch back and forth. There's a few people they're just first service, and there's a few people that are second service, but most switch back and forth. And we have a few people in the second service that I've always been a little bit surprised if in the second service they come across to me as more traditional. And so I asked a few. I said, "Well, why do you come to second service? You don't seem like second service people." And they go, "Well, we're up in the morning, but we don't want to be at church at 8:30." It really comes down to that was funny. So, are there some people that have stood out to you or have a good effect on you through the years?
That Jim McClure,
Mhm.
and Bill and Laura Pritchett.
Oh,
They're
okay.
not here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of stick out.
Yeah, Jim McClure ended up being a really good friend of mine,
Oh.
and I remember he was 20 years older than me,
Oh.
at least, maybe more, and we worked together during the summer. Of course, I was a school teacher, so I had summers off, and I remember every day meeting him over here to work on that for quite a while. And one day I went over and knocked on his door. And Pat said, "Jim, your little friend is here to play." So yeah, they were, and Dwayne was usually right out there with us, building. Yep, and like I said, I don't want to cut sell anybody short. There were other volunteers that came and went while we were doing that, but that was a really fun time, And My son, Joseph, I don't know how old he was at the time. He was probably only 7 or 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. He and I put up that chain link fence all the way around the playground,
Oh,
just the
really?
two of us. And yeah, been a lot of hours out there, but we enjoyed it very much. And I remember when we started the daycare. I remember kind of making a little speech to the congregation to vote to approve that, and somebody had said something about the new building. And did we really want to, use a brand new building and fill it with all these kids? And I said, I hope they wear it out.
Yeah.
I hope we have so many kids we have to put new carpet in soon. And we did. We had a lot of kids back there. And
Wow.
yeah, I kind of retired from parish planning council and the board of Christian education at some point in there, and so I really wasn't making any decisions after that. I'm not sure what happened with the daycare and why it finally ended in the preschool and all that. I really wasn't part of it at that point. But I know there for a few years it went really well.
Yeah. It's a great ministry. It's a hard ministry, but it's a great ministry to do. Yeah. Anybody else or anything else that?
Joe Chambers was always been a good friend and leader in the church, and he and I, of course, worked together at Marion Community Schools. We were both principals for a few years together, and so yeah, and Margot, his wife, very kind lady, and yeah, there's lots of people. We always laugh. The tutors have been here ever since we've been here.
Oh.
And Becca Tudor I had in school, and she and I laugh because I think I had her 4 times in school. I think I had her in kindergarten, and then like in 7th grade, in high school, and then believe it or not, I was her professor, one of her professors at Indiana Wesleyan. So I think I had her 4 different times.
Funny.
So I always think of the Tudors as a family that's been around for a long time here. Yeah.
I've noticed since I've been here, there's a lot of people in education in this congregation, whether it's elementary or high school or college. There just seems to be a huge percentage of that, which is, for me, was unusual in a small town in rural Indiana, but it is true. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to leave out the Wolves either. Norm Wolf's been a leader for a long time, and I feel like been a real positive influence on me and Dottie. Yeah, they're great folks too. Yeah, there's probably a lot more that I'm just not thinking of at the moment, but
yeah.
Who was it that used to sit with the kids? When I worked for 16 years, I didn't come to church because I worked every Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
So when he was, I don't know, were you ushering or elder or whatever? And so the kids had somebody to sit with. And I think it was McClure's. Weren't the McClure's?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, there were people would step up if I was serving communion or ushering. And I had 3 little boys, and sometimes, other people would sit with them, which was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a funny story when, like I said, for 16 years, I worked every Sunday, so I wasn't here. So a lot of the people that came during that time, I didn't even know he was married because I wasn't here. So then when my roles changed and I was able to come to church, one of the first times I came to church, somebody thought that I was Joseph's girlfriend. And, oh man, he did not like that.
I'm not going to mention names, but one Sunday, and I had the boys with me, and I overheard 2 elderly ladies behind me. She says, "I just think it's great. He raises those boys all by himself." But I have an interesting story. Lori Gates was a member here. She was a teacher also. She taught at the same building I did for a while. And one day she asked me, she said, when you take the 3 boys up there for communion, she says, you strike the same pose every Sunday. She said, you're holding the baby in your left hand and holding the one with your right hand, his hand, and the other one standing by. And she says, I want to do a painting of that. So she asked if, she says, after church, will you go back up to the altar and I'll take a picture of you. And she did. And then months later, she had a painting of us. And it was pretty neat. if I remember right, she took it to a contest and it won a prize.
Oh, wow.
And then I bought it from her. So I have that. I should have brought it with me.
Oh, yeah.
I will bring that and show you someday.
Yeah, I'd
About
like to see that.
yeah, she titled it By Example. And it was myself and the 3 boys. And unfortunately, Teresa wasn't part of it because that's in the years when
Right.
she was working on Sunday. But we were all praying at the altar. And it's kind of neat. So
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah. So what are some changes that maybe you've seen happen through the years at St. James?
The services changed. When we first came, it was the very traditional Lutheran.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And all the services. So that's a big change
Oh,
that I've
okay.
noticed.
mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, very little contemporary music and stuff like that back then. Very traditional. And so yeah, I would say as far as the worship service, that was the biggest change.
Now, why was that change made as far as bringing in contemporary? Just out of curiosity, I've done contemporary pretty much my whole career. I'm just curious.
I think
what
it was
led to
just
that.
when Pastor Carlson left,
Mm-hmm.
he was traditional and very liturgical service. And like I said, when he was here, they were both the same service.
Right.
After he left, we had some fill-ins and some temporary people and some short-term people, and I think just different tastes of different ministers that were leading the service.
So it's relatively new then. I
Yeah.
mean, the contemporary.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
We went through a time. I don't want to be negative, but we went through a time where there was no liturgical service at all, and for us, that troubled us a little bit. And then we kind of went back to we had one of each. You know,
okay.
so. That's probably why you might remember we when the call committee, we questioned you pretty hard about that.
Oh yeah.
You said, yeah, you kind of do liturgical service and also contemporary is okay too. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know. So.
Yeah, I'd done both. When I was in Phoenix, the service was completely contemporary, but then in Toledo, we had 2 different type of services. Actually, very similar to what we do now.
Yeah. I think we have a really good mix now. I think it works really well.
Yeah, I mean, we have that first service which is straight out of the hymnal, and the second service has I basically just stripped it of the sung parts of the liturgy, but the rest of the liturgy's there, and then just contemporary songs.
Contemporary songs, yeah.
But yeah, it just seemed to me that was kind of the feeling I got from the congregation of where they wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted contemporary, but not too
Mm-hmm.
contemporary. So.
Yeah.
And then we used to have, was it the choir that used the loft? We used the loft. You could sit up in the loft. That's just something that was different.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think did the choir sit up there or they sit in the back?
They sat in the back.
In the back? Yeah, but you could sit up in that loft.
Oh
if
wow.
you came in late or something.
Wow.
You could go sit in the loft. So that's a little bit different. But
You-
we used to have like the hymnals. We didn't have the overhead projector.
Oh, okay.
And you were always flipping back and forth, and
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's different. It's
Yeah.
different now.
Well, when I first got here, and of course Linda was here at the time, and it's where she had passed, and there was like a choir almost every week.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, they sounded very good. So it was.
Yeah, she did a
Yeah.
good job.
That's,
She was wonderful with that choir.
Yeah.
That I do miss the choir. I wish we
yeah.
we had enough folks interested in
I know we've
that,
tried to
but-
start, but there's just not an
Yeah.
interest with that. And,
Yeah, if you don't have the folks that want to do it, it can't do it.
Yeah.
So.
But it is amazing that this church held on to that because there are hardly any church choirs anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't, even in these old big churches that had a long tradition, they just don't have them anymore. So I was kind of surprised when I came in. I was like, wow, they have a regular choir. It's not just a Christmas and Easter choir, but a
Yeah.
regular choir. So that was,
And two, we're real fortunate to have an organist. You know?
yes.
I think that's really a big part of our worship service. I'm always kind of surprised how different it is with recorded music and live music. Intellectually, it doesn't seem like it should be that big of a difference, but it sure is. It sure is.
It is, and they've tried to promote that because throughout the Synod, there's less and less congregations with organists. People just don't learn organ. But you're right; it's not the same. And we've tried various services. I mean, we've tried various groups, and yeah, it approximates, but makes a difference. Yeah. Any other changes you've noticed throughout the years?
Well, of course, the building itself, it was a much smaller space when we started here.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Thinking of all the stuff that goes on with us, and we're much smaller than you guys used to be. And wow, it's amazing. How has St. James impacted your faith walk?
Well, for me, it changed it completely because I came from Wesleyan.
Sure.
So even though I was Wesleyan for my whole life, I didn't like, I mean, I liked it at the time, but now that I've gotten away from it, I like the liturgy. I like the structure. That's why I like the first service, because we have that, the same structure all the time. And the communion, and Wesleyan, you just did not take communion, except I think it was once a quarter we took communion. So that was a big change, which I really liked here, was getting the communion. And the Wesleyans were too heavy emotionally.
A lot of emotional fervor and stuff like that.
So I like that about the church here. I like the structure. I like the constant.
My son,
very different.
Sometimes, he has to go to chapel, Indiana Wesleyan, and he doesn't like it, which is funny because he's always grew up in contemporary church, but he's like, they had a woman preacher, it's that really bugged him. It was
I didn't know. I guess I didn't realize that.
So it's kind of interesting what he's his comments on it. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I felt the same way. Like I said, I kind of felt like I developed my theological views from studying the Bible, and then after that, kind of tried to find a denomination that, and I think the Missouri Synod Lutheran fit it really well. I thought, it seems to me like New Testament worship focused on communion, and so many denominations don't even do communion, or do it so rarely it's not even really part of this worship service, and that didn't seem right to me. And I really liked it that we do communion every Sunday, and the liturgy is kind of built around that central part, and so that and again the liturgy just we just read and sing the Bible, and some churches you go to, you hear a lot of stuff, and not much of it is actually Bible.
I think that, it is. I mean, I've heard that a lot from people that have come from other denominations, is that they kind of did what you did, is that they kept on reading the Bible and realized, and then they went looking for a church and found the Missouri. Nathan Greeley wrote a book. In the back of that book, he addresses communion. It's a book on apologetics, defense of the faith. And he doesn't do anything in the back of that last chapter as far as communion except list all the Bible verses on things on communion, and then it says read this, which is brilliant, because when you read it, you kind of go, oh, okay, it really is the body and blood. It really is forgiveness, and it really was a big central thing. Just read this, and you'll figure it out on your own, which is true. Which is true.
Yeah, I think a lot of other places, I think the Wesleyan Church was doing this. They preach, do what makes you feel good. The feel good kind of thing, feelings, not what's Bible based. And sometimes when you teach things out of the Bible, it doesn't make you feel good. It's it brings up a lot of angst in the church, and it's like, well, you need to hear it. Some of the stuff you need to hear.
I had a college professor, and we did too. We went to college at the same time, and he would say, "The good news, the gospel, is the good news." But the good news doesn't make any sense unless you know the bad news first.
Right. That's true. So, what are your hopes for St. James' future? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I like that you're doing the YouTube videos, because like on Wednesdays I cannot be here because I'm working. So that would be something I would like to see. For me personally, is if these Wednesday night services could also be on a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
That's for me personally. That's just
Well,
anything.
that's something we definitely.
Yeah, and I like it that like if I do work and I can't come to church on Sunday, I can always watch it. And
Oh, okay.
I
So
do
you
like
watched that service?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, see, I didn't know she felt that way. I could have recorded the Wednesday night Bible studies in my classroom there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear you do that because the reason I asked that is that I know on live Zoom we get like 1 or 2 people, but I know people watch that recorded.
Yeah, it's usually recorded because if
Yeah.
I'm working, I can't
Sure.
always, take the time to go watch that live, but I can watch it recorded later. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Bible study, I did the whole Bible study last year, and I'm
Oh, did you?
into
Oh.
my second year now of watching the videos and
Oh, good.
doing the Bible. So
I began to wonder who was doing that.
No, that
after a while. I'm glad you were doing
He's
it.
faithful.
Thank you for telling me
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was very glad that you did that.
Oh, good.
Because
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever done that before. So I
If-
did appreciate that.
If I had to do that again, I would have went through it myself for a year and then done it because I was like, I was really scrambling some weeks. But good,
Yep,
good.
I
I'm glad.
did enjoy that. Thank you for doing
Well,
that.
thanks.
And I'd say being the parents of Joseph, who came up in this church, went on to become a Wesleyan minister, by the way. But he's a police officer.
Sure.
I really like that we kind of have a ministry to the local police, and I hope
Oh,
to see
yeah.
us do more there, and really support. I think sometimes people don't realize how tough it is in a community like this to be a police officer. I mean, their life is at risk every day.
Yeah.
It is difficult just to give a traffic ticket anymore without crazy reactions and violence and everything. So I just really hope that we continue to have a ministry to the police officers and sheriff deputies here.
Yeah, you've got those cards, those playing cards. And do you know, that was on the Indianapolis NBC News last week.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it
know
had
that.
Marion, and they had the police chief and several of the police officers, and they were at the police athletic center here in town, and they were giving those out, and they had a whole interview on that and a segment on the NBC News out of Indianapolis, which I watched. So it was pretty cool. It was with Marion Police Department. I thought it was Marion County, but no, it was actually the city of
okay.
Marion. It was
Neat.
So,
Yeah, I think that was a great idea that they had, and Joseph has, I think, quite a ministry to the community with his police dog.
right.
They go to lots of activities and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, and we had the police in here with the drones
Mhm.
a few weeks ago. And,
Yeah.
and that was with
Max, yeah.
Max.
yeah, he came up in this
Yeah.
church too.
Yeah. Yeah, Max Fisher. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you'd like to see in the future for the
I think it'd
congregation?
be, we were just talking about this the other day. If we could, like any church, like see more attendance. The first service, and I asked her in the first service, I'm often the one that counts, and we've been growing slowly.
So,
I think we're probably mid-40s average, would you say?
first service.
First
Yeah,
service?
Yeah, and we're averaging, we have like a low of maybe 90 and a high of 120, and we're probably averaging maybe 105, 107.
That's total both
Total
services?
both
Yeah.
services, yeah.
Yeah,
total services.
you know-
and it varies. In the summertime, that first service sometimes is more full than the second service. That's why I say people go back and forth.
Yeah.
But and when
Yeah.
it's cold, it varies, and so
We had a point in time where we were quite a bit higher than that,
yeah.
and then it dipped. And now it feels to me like we're slowly because when
it is.
in first service, it seems like we were high 30s there for quite a while, and now we're mid 40s, and once in a while hit 50.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, Janice was just telling me the numbers. She said last year we gained 9 new members, but we did 7 funerals.
Mm.
So we had basically a net gain of like 2, which is, yeah. But yeah, so we're working on it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, anything I didn't ask you or should have asked you or anything else?
Not that I can think of. We have commented many times that we're glad you're here and
Oh,
you're
thanks.
part of our church, and Yeah, so we're very happy about that. I think we're definitely going in the right direction.
Definitely
Yeah.
going in a much better direction.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed being here. So
Mhm.
so it's like yeah.
Yeah, we've enjoyed
Definitely.
having you here.
Well, thanks. Well, thank you for joining us for our interview, and we will see you next week or later this week. Peace out. All right, go ahead and turn your thing off.
Shadows fall, lost in a world, echoes call, searching for light, voices true. St. James Church in the heart of the blue. Glorify God, nurture all, share the gospel, hear the call. That is what we do at St. James, breaking chains, singing new names, pushing through the night, feeling small, seeking the answers stall.